What if I told you that I was the youngest shopaholic that I know? Yes, it started when I was about 5 years old and continued all the way until I was in middle school. Basically, every time I went out with my parents, I hoped that we went to a store, and every time I saw something I wanted, I would beg my parents for hours to buy it. At that time, my mom was the breadwinner of the family. She worked very long hours and had rarely any time to accompany me, so every time she did get a chance to go out with me, she often indulged me and would cave in to my requests to buy things. And I just remember feeling elated every time she bought me something. I don't know if maybe I combined the happiness of being with her with the happiness of buying something, but shopping just brought me such an enormous surge of joy that I got addicted to it. My dad would refuse my demands most of the time because he didn't want to spoil me, but when that happened, I would cry for hours. Yes, I was one of those kids who would cry in public and had to be physically dragged from a store when I couldn't get what I wanted. I know it's really hard to believe. If I could describe the feeling, I would say it just felt like desire completely took over me. I lost all my control and reason, and I would just do whatever I could to be able to buy the thing I wanted. Now, the stuff I wanted was mostly just like very cheap and childish stuff, like small hair accessories, little stickers, or stationaries. But for some reason, those things were just so appealing to me. They exerted such power over me that I felt like my life depended on getting them. And I never seemed to get enough of it. Every time we went out, I performed the same drama. If my parents gave in, then great, I was happy. If not, then I would feel immediately dejected and I felt like my life was just completely miserable. Basically, I was this very turbulent and addicted child. Looking back on this experience now, a few things stuck out to me. First is just how young I was, how early this desire for shiny new objects showed up in me. I was barely 5, and I already had this strong desire to acquire things. I think this just shows how innate and how deeply rooted some of our desires are in us. And yes, I'm not just talking about me. I think this might apply to a lot of people. Your desires might not be the same as mine. It might not be material objects, but it could be money, it could be food, it could even be admiration from others or success. I think the truth is we all have desires. It's natural and it's part of being a human being. Buddhism teaches us that we need to get rid of all of our desires, but honestly, I think that's an unrealistic ask for most people. I actually think it's totally fine to have desires. That's not the problem. The problem is having endless desires, not ever being able to control your desires, and living in a constant state of desiring things that you don't already have. And you get there by being able to easily satisfy your previous desires each time, like a shopaholic using Amazon, browsing things within the comfort of our own home, purchasing something at the click of a button and having it delivered the next day. If it's easy for you to satisfy your desires, then your mind will become addicted to desiring more. Let me say that again. Your brain can get used to and addicted to the state of desiring things. When you're able to satisfy all your desires easily, your mind will just automatically move on to desiring and pining for the next thing. And before long, you're craving more and more, and that is how greed is generated. And that was the second thing that stood out to me, was how even as a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, I was already stuck in the loop of endless desires and I was becoming greedy. Greed is this ugly trait that we criticize in so many other people, from wealthy businessmen to corrupt politicians. Well, it's actually something that's present in all of us. And again, it can take hold in us from a very young age. Greed might not show up as this flashy red flag, but it might show up as these subtle feelings like, I don't have enough, I want more, I deserve more. I want a more comfortable couch, I want a more upgraded kitchen, a nicer car, I need a raise, a higher position, I deserve it, I've worked so hard for it. If I don't get it, then it's unfair, my life is just sad and miserable. You've probably come across many of these thoughts. Now, I do think that having this drive for something more, something better, is very natural and sometimes even healthy for our lives. But if you're constantly stuck in this loop, then you're leaving the prospect of a happy and peaceful life way behind you. For me, I had to force myself out of this situation. Starting from around 10, I finally realized something was not right. I couldn't pinpoint to exactly what, if it's just a feeling of embarrassment for asking adults to buy me things, or if it's a guilt for wasting money and materials. But something deep inside me was telling me that obsessing over buying shiny new objects is morally not right. Slowly, I stopped myself from asking my parents for things I wanted. Every time I did feel tempted to buy something, I told myself this hard no. No questions asked, I'm not giving in to some material desires. It took me a few years, but by around high school, I would say I had a pretty firm control over my shopaholic tendencies. As an adult, I've become someone who's very conscientious of my spending and shopping habits. I'm very wary of the feeling of desires being riled up in me, and I'm adamantly against fostering those desires. The lesson was thankfully learned so early on in my life that it left a very permanent mark. Now I have a very clear sense that material objects are not worth my money and my time. No matter how fancy or nice they look or how useful they appear to be, in the end, they're all just trinkets, and they're most likely not going to bring me long-term happiness. So I'm glad to say shopaholism never showed up again in my life. I've never bought things on impulse, and I've never gotten sad because I wasn't able to buy anything. And I can tell you there are so many real life rewards for this. Like when other people around my age were getting into credit card debts, I never paid a credit card bill late, and my credit score has always been stably in the 800s. I've never spent beyond my earnings, and I was always able to save. And in my 30s, I can feel that my desire for buying new stuff is just naturally dying off. I rarely feel like going shopping or browsing online. I hate taking out my phone or my wallet to pay for things. I don't ever feel the lack of any material object, and I genuinely feel like I have an abundance of everything I need. And my attention in general is just turned towards other things like my health, my projects, things I want to do in life, and my relationships. In the end, if I can credit my escape out of the loop of infinite desires to a few things, it would be this. First is just this deep understanding that desiring material things can get out of control and can become toxic to me and the environment. Second is just forcing this hard stop onto myself by doing no buys. Third is becoming very mindful and wary of whenever these desires begin to show up in my mind. So if I can do it as a 10-year-old, I have no doubt that anyone else who really wants to is able to escape this toxic cycle as well. Thank you for watching this today, and I hope you have a peaceful rest of the day. I'll see you next time. Bye.